Now to climate change and a stark warning from the World Meteorological Organization. With less than a month to go, 2014 is now on track to become the warmest year on record, according to the UN agency. Scientists also warn that oceans are taking on more than they should, and that could lead to record high ocean temperatures and sea levels and flooding and torrential rains.
The heat is being absorbed by the oceans. There is no doubt that the ocean continues to warm, and that on a very, very consistent basis. And what it is doing, frankly, is doing us a little favor. They are absorbing the heat that could have gone to the land and paying the price.
Officials meeting at a UN climate summit in Peru say urgent action to address those record-setting temperatures are needed. CCTV's Dan Collyns has more now on why some developing nations say richer countries need to do more.
Many nations around the world are feeling the effects of climate change. The need to curb the steady rise in greenhouse gases has never been more urgent. The Alliance of Small Island States says rising sea levels are causing floods, storms and damaging crops.
Co-chairs, discussions on adaptation are absolutely critical in moving us forward. Adaptation is about survival. We are already experiencing impacts that can no longer be mitigated and to which we can no longer adapt. Thus, loss and damage must be included as a central element of the 2015 agreement.
Other islanders tell CCTV of their impatience as they wait for funds from richer nations.
Countries like the Marshall Islands emit the least in terms of greenhouse gas. Yet, we are the first one to be affected from the result of climate change. Regardless, the Marshall Islands, including our Pacific countries' neighbors, have taken the lead in transforming our energy sector into renewable energy.
In a statement made on Tuesday, a group of developing nations said that rich countries should do, quote, substantially more. Developed nations say they've raised almost $10 billion in recent weeks for the UN's Green Climate Fund to help developing countries cope with climate change. But that figure is just a fraction of the UN's target of $100 billion every year until 2020. Environmentalists fear the optimism following the US-China carbon cuts deal made last month may be chipped away unless more developed countries make pledges to help poorer nations adapt.
But there's a majority of countries who are not responsible for global warming, but they suffer most from catastrophic climate change. This needs to be reflected in the Paris Protocol, that on the one hand you have ambitious mitigation commitments, and on the other hand clear support mechanisms to adapt to climate change and to help those people who will lose their home.
The United Nations says the agreement made in Paris next year will be too weak for net zero emissions, which means to make an impact, most nations will need to greatly increase their carbon cutting pledges in the years to come. Dan Collyns, CCTV, Lima.